In section 5.4, we're still going to be factoring, but now we're going to look at situations where your a value is something other than 1. This really is going to be the same process. There's just going to be one extra step that we're going to do at the end. So I want to know, what is the factored form of 5x squared plus 11x plus 2? I'm still going to make my AC chart. My a value here is 5, b value is 11, and my c value is 2. So a times c is going to be 5 times 2, and my b value is 11. So I want two numbers that multiply to give me 10 and adds up to give me 11. We've looked at some questions like this yesterday. We know that 1 times 10 gives you 10, 1 plus 10 gives you 11, so those are our factors. So I'm going to write this in factored form like so. X plus 1 times x plus 10, but we're not done yet. The extra step that we have to do when a isn't 1 is I'm going to take that a value and I'm going to divide it by both of my factors. If it divides nicely, I'm going to simplify it, and if it doesn't, I'm going to move that number as a coefficient in front of the x. So what I mean by that, 10 divided by 5 gives you 2, so I'm going to simplify it like that. 1 over 5 doesn't simplify to a whole number, so I'm going to bring that 5 over, and it's going to be 5x plus 1. So my final answer would be 5x plus 1 times x plus 2. And if I want to double check, I could FOIL it, and we'll see here I have 5x squared plus 10x plus x plus 2, which gives me 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. In our second example, I want to know, what is the factored form of 3x squared minus 4x minus 15. Again, I'm going to make my AC chart here. My a value is 3, b negative 4, and c negative 15. So I want two numbers that multiply to give me 3 times negative 15, which is negative 45, and adds up to give me negative 4. So again, we're working with negatives here, so we got to consider our positive and negative value. If I want negative 45, I could do negative 1 and 45 or 1 and negative 45. When I add both of those up, though, either scenario does not give me negative 4. So I'm going to move on. 3 and 15, negative 3 plus 15, or 3 plus negative 15. That gives me 12 or negative 12, so those don't work either. So now I'm going to try 5 and 9, negative 5 times 9, or 5 times negative 9. And in that last scenario with 5 and negative 9, I finally get negative 4. So after going through all those factors, I finally found them. So I'm going to write x plus 5 times x minus 9. But again, I'm going to not forget my last step. I'm going to divide both things by 3. 5 over 3 does not simplify to a whole number, so I'm going to change that to 3x plus 5. And 9 divided by 3 simplifies to 3. So my final answer would be 3x plus 5 times x minus 3. Now in our last example, this is going to be kind of a long one. I want to factor 18x squared minus 33x plus 12. Before I start with my AC chart, I want to notice something about these three numbers. Right now, these are some kind of big numbers to work with, meaning there's going to be a lot of factors. So I want to ask myself if there's any way I could simplify this before I start doing my AC chart and going through there. All of these numbers divide by 3. So what I could do before doing my AC chart is I could factor a 3 out of that whole expression. So I could rewrite it as 3 times 6x squared minus 11x plus 4. And now I can factor and use my AC chart with these numbers, which is going to be a lot easier to work with. So making my AC chart, now my a value is 6, b negative 11, and c positive 4. So I want two numbers that multiply to give me 24 and add up to give me negative 11. Notice here, since I have a positive number to multiply to and a negative to add up to, I want two negative numbers. So if I try negative 1 and negative 24 to start, that gives me negative 25. So I'm going to move on. Negative 2 and negative 12 would multiply to give me positive 24, but they add up to give me negative 14. So that doesn't work either. Then I'll go to 3. Negative 3 times negative 8 gives me positive 24 and adds up to give me negative 11. So that works out. So I'll start out by writing my factors. Notice here that I'm including that 3 that I pulled out. So right now I have 3 times x minus 3 times x minus 8. And now I'm dividing everything by my a value, which is 6. Notice here that both of these fractions are not going to give you whole numbers. I am still going to simplify the fraction and then just move whatever the denominator is in front of the x. So 3 over 6 simplifies to 1/2. And then 8 over 6 simplifies to 4/3. Now I'm going to bring both of those denominators over. So my final answer is kind of ugly, but it would be 3 times 2x minus 1 times 3x minus 4.